Welcome back, everybody. This is the Waiting Room Podcast, and I am your host, Kyle Waite. And it's football season. Got to manage my voice. I am in a dorm while I'm deployed, so if my voice is a little low, I apologize for that. Today, again, we're going to cover some football. We're going to cover my made-up football rule about how I've been judging players, and we're going to talk about stubbornness. We're going to talk about my stubbornness and where it has led me. And you know what? Tomorrow, guys, is a really important day for me, for this country. So I just want to say my piece on that. As the episode's titled, football is back. Last night, the Bucks somehow had trouble with the Cowboys, who I'd picked to win their division. Personally, I just think they're a little too offensively talented, maybe a little less on the defensive side. But they squeak out a win against the Cowboys, who, you know what? Again, their offense is talented. There's no denying that. That's why they stuck with the Bucks. But realistically, it's one of those things where, I look at it and I'm like, hey, you know what? Can't really complain. Of course, Dallas would have liked to win, but again, you give Tom Brady the ball at the end of the game, you're asking for trouble, especially when it's less than a field goal. So, with that, this ties into my show's going to get really football centric. It's football season. I'll still talk about life if I can get more guests coordinated. Again, a little harder being on the other side of the world, but it's going to get real football centric, along with the life lessons I'm learning while I'm deployed. Again, I will go over what exactly my Ryan Tannehill rule is, and then I'm going to tell you some guys that are probably about to be covered under it, and then some guys that maybe a season away from it. And then I got, some guys that might play their way into being close to that Ryan Tannehill rule. So I started taking my Ryan Tannehill rule specifically as a tortured Baltimore fan who lost twice to them. And realistically, you're wondering how did such a good team that year, how'd they have such a good year and then just crap out to Tennessee? Ryan Tannehill, most people know his story. He was a wide receiver at Texas A&M, converted to a quarterback, ended up getting drafted by the Dolphins, had a less than stellar Dolphins career, gets traded to the Tennessee Titans, ends up going on this run where he looks like a better than average NFL quarterback. I mean, he's leading them to the playoffs, something that we just hadn't really seen from his time in Miami. So again, the real big part of this is these are players that I look at as they could possibly have been good or were good at one point, but the last few seasons they hadn't looked good, and then they have a chance to turn it around. Again, Ryan Tannehill, before we all knew that Adam Gase was just a terrible coach, Ryan Tannehill looked terrible. It's what led to just his kind of being tossed aside by the Miami Dolphins, who, if they had a Ryan Tannehill right now, might actually be a contender for winning their division. Just again, he's an above average quarterback. He's not great. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Tom Brady. But Ryan Tannehill is a good place to be at. So again, these are guys that I believe, one more season, one way or the other. And you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. You guys can tell me, hey, these are some players I think might fall into that rule. But these are the players. I have three today. As far as guys that I looked at last season, again, they might be covered now. But this is what I came up with, so bear with me. The first one's Josh Allen. Everybody knows Josh Allen had a fantastic 2020, but what I'll say is it was an anomaly compared to what he'd done. So his first two seasons, He passed for a collective 56%, was averaging about 6.6 yards per pass. It wasn't something that you want to see. You think of a quarterback, you want them, especially in a league where it's offensive centric. You were looking at guys that should be above 60%, should be above the 7.0 mark as far as yards per pass. But Josh Allen had what most would call an anomaly of a year. That could be player progression. It could be that the scheme he was in. It could be adding a guy like Stephon Diggs. It could be a combination of things. But I am not one of those people that is completely sold on him at this point, just because it was 1 year. It was 1 year. It was a COVID year. It is a little harder for me to say, hey, you know what? He's definitely, this guy that we saw last season. I do expect a small regression. I don't expect him to progress because he had such a great season last season. Again, Buffalo is probably one of the top 3 teams in the division, along with Kansas City and Baltimore, provided, they aren't bitten by the fact that every running back that they've signed, keeps getting injured. So that's my first one, Josh Allen. My second one, Baker Mayfield. Baker he's an interesting guy. Much like his football play, his attitude is very volatile. So in his first few years bore that out. His first 2 seasons as well, along with Josh Allen, they're selected the same draft. 61% passing, 7.4 yards per pass. So the first season was a little higher. Second season dropped down, and this last season, his yard per pass dropped down to 7.2. And while people are like, well, he's dropping in that, his production actually, or his effectiveness sort of went up in a way. He's playing more of a West Coast offense. Anybody that watched Jeff Garcia with the 49ers, that's kind of the vibe he's giving off. I believe it was 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, and he'd been averaging somewhere around like 15, 17 per season. It was one of those things where you look at a guy and you're like, is this good that his yard per pass is dropping? But without a guy like Odell Beckham, he became a little bit more effective in the fact that he was not throwing deep, not throwing into coverage. But again, it's one season. I don't know that one season. I do believe that their coach currently is a lot better than a Freddie Kitchens. But again, one season, I don't know if I buy into it. A lot of the guys that popped as a result of the COVID season, to me, you're going to have to prove a little more. And both of these guys kind of seem covered under it, as they both had better than what you'd expect from them seasons. Cleveland went to the playoffs for the first time in a while. It's just one of those things that you're going to need to do it again. So again, that's why I believe they qualify under the Ryan Tannehill rule. Another season of this, and I personally may start buying into them. My last one hurts my feelings a little bit, but it's Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson, since he's came in, has been a winner. He has the most wins as a starter through his first 3 years. However, we all know he gets to the playoffs and he turns into a lame duck. I'll forgive his first season. His first season, he's playing an offense geared more towards Joe Flacco. We all know Lamar Jackson's not the guy that's going to be just chucking it down the field. He can, but for anybody that watched his combine video, knows that chucking deep isn't exactly a specialty. He gets a little more wobble on it, and he doesn't have the strongest arm. He's got a good arm, but again, he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not a guy that should be trying to boom it down the field. He should be throwing 15, 18 yards downfield, and that's your sweet spot. But the issue for Lamar Jackson, and this is just from the small amount of research I did that brought it up, he gets sacked more often once he gets to the playoffs. During the regular season, and this is all 3 seasons combined, he averages about 13.9 dropbacks, without taking a sack. Get to the playoffs, it's significantly worse. You're talking about 7.1. So cutting that in half. Essentially, you're saying this guy gets sacked twice as often in the playoffs than he does in the regular season. Now, the issue with that is some of the teams he plays are not exactly known for pass rushing. Tennessee, one of them. Tennessee was probably one of the worst pass rushing teams in the league last season, and they were still able to get to him. Buffalo, again, good defense, but if you think about the fact that Lamar Jackson, one of the most explosive athletic guys on the field, getting sacked at a rate that's twice as often, it's a little worse now. You could say, hey, he's covered under this rule still. I'd definitely say I wouldn't disagree with you. He currently has not looked good in the playoffs. And the only thing that could be a saving grace is they've added offensive line pieces. They've added receivers. The thing that could stop it is, like I said, the last week he's had all three, his top three running backs go down. They've signed guys, that you've heard of, but again, you have your top three running backs go down. You're not exactly stoked for it. So again, he may already be covered under it, but we'll see. Now, what I want to do is I want to get to some of the guys that may currently, they may be a season away from, a season or two away from playing their way into this. Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's one of my prime examples. He's a guy who, again, he's had trouble staying on the field and not starting out his New England tenure any better. He's averaged roughly 49 passes or 49 receptions, 580 yards, and 5 touchdowns. The issue is it's been more of a regression than a progression from his rookie year. New England is a very tight end heavy offense. They have a rookie quarterback. You'd think a guy like him and Jonnu Smith, who he may also qualify under this rule if he has another good season, but he's not a guy who I hold a lot of stock in. He had one good year in Tennessee. It was a contract year. And again, guys in the contract years tend to have better seasons, just again, because they're trying to get paid. But I picked Hunter Henry for this because he may be in the best situation that he could be in. Again, we're talking New England, which is just known for throwing guys in, with the exception of last year, but throwing guys in there and saying, hey, you know what, like we can, our offense can work. We don't need these top of the line receivers. Nothing against Nelson Aguilar and some of the other guys have added. It's just, again, you're going to expect more from their running backs, from their tight ends, especially with their rookie quarterback, than you will from guys that aren't that are playing on the outside. So again, Hunter Henry is my first one, which moves me down to Houston with Phillip Lindsay. Now, Phillip Lindsay could easily not get a whole lot of playing time. I've accepted that. However, with the situation going in Houston, with not having Deshaun Watson playing, I don't think he should be playing, but that's a subject for another time. But Phillip Lindsay has been a guy that throughout his time in the league, he's gotten, I wouldn't say worse, but his production has dropped. So his first 2 years in the league, he's averaged about 1,200 yards from scrimmage and roughly 8 touchdowns per season. He was selected to the Pro Bowl as a undrafted rookie, which, it's really impressive. You think, okay, from there he's got to get better. The issue is he's about 5'9", 180 pounds, or it's 5'8", 190. He's not a big guy. He's not built to carry the ball all the time. So last season kind of bore out. He had roughly 500 yards, 1 touchdown. His yards per touch went from roughly around 5 yards per touch down to 4.2. You're looking at a guy who should be doing more than he is. His production in the run game got cut in about half, and his production in the passing game dropped about 80%. He's fighting a whole lot. They've got David Johnson, they've got Mark Ingram, but effectively you should think, hey, Phillip Lindsay should be a guy that in Houston's offense will pick it up. So he's my guy that should be able to pick it up. But again, he could qualify under the bad rule. He could qualify as he is this guy. He's the guy who's going to be a third down back. He's going to be your backup, and maybe nothing more for the rest of his career. So that's where he is. The guy that got me started thinking about this, past Sam Darnold was past Ryan Tannehill was Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold obviously played under Adam Gase for 3 years. We all saw Adam Gase just be less innovative, especially with a guy who's not as mobile, who cannot make as much happen with his legs. So again, Sam Darnold very easily could be in line to do better. His first 3 seasons, he passes for roughly 59%, 15 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and gets sacked about 30-ish times a season. The issue with all of that is, again, we are in an offensive league. We should not be having guys who, are passing for sub 60, especially guys who have the raw talent of a Sam Darnold. Now, again, Sam Darnold could easily just be that bad. He could be. I believe that Sam Darnold could be a bad quarterback, but if he's ever going to figure it out, you would figure a guy like Matt Rule would be able to figure it out. He's a talented offensive coach. He may not be a talented, NFL head coach, but Matt Rule knows what an offense looks like, knows how to make it go. So much so that they were able to trade, not throw shade at Teddy Bridgewater, but they were able to throw the corpse of Teddy Bridgewater out there and make him work. I mean, again, not to get wins, but they look like a respectable offense. Now they've got Sam Darnold in there. Christian McCaffrey should be back. Robbie Anderson has history with Sam Darnold, had his best season with Sam Darnold. DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, Logan Thomas. These are all better than anything that Sam Darnold had over his collective time, sans Robbie Anderson, who, again, was there with him. But these are all reasons that Sam Darnold could start playing his way into the conversation of the Ryan Tannehill rule, where, again, he just looked like not a good starting quarterback, but could easily play his way into, hey, this is a guy that's good. He was just in a bad situation under potentially the worst offensive coach ever. I'm just saying, Adam Gase has proven multiple times that he's not a guy you can trust. Matt Rule should be able to get the best out of Sam Darnold. So I see no reason that he doesn't, do anything to, prove us wrong. Say, hey, this is who I am. I was just kind of hamstrung. We've seen a lot of guys leave the Jets and do, maybe not worlds better, but do better. Our next guy, and this is not a guy I believe in. It's just a guy that I could see, a guy some friends helped me, point out. It's Jameis Winston. So Jameis Winston has been in the league, first, I don't count last season, so I'll say he was a starter in the league for 5 years. It was real ugly 5 years, but it was a real booming 5 years as well. For 5 years, he roughly 61%, so not the worst thing in the world. 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, and somewhere in the 30 sack range per year. Now that's not all terrible. Matter of fact, you'd say, hey, what's wrong with Jameis Winston? It's the turnovers. It is, along with those 24 touchdowns and 4,000 yards per year. He also averages roughly 17 interceptions and 10 fumbles a year. So you're turning the ball over more than you're scoring. It's a little rough to watch. Matter of fact, I had kind of predicted that last season the Bucs would be much better. And, I know they didn't just add Tom Brady, but adding Tom Brady was a clear difference. After they worked out some of the kinks of the Bruce Arians offense, which, again, if you've got a real strong arm guy, yeah, you can chuck it down the field. I believe that's why Jameis Winston looked okay at times. But then there's other times, again, where you'd see Jameis Winston coupled with that risk it or biscuit offense, turn the ball over. So the argument for it is, again, these are not my arguments. These are arguments that have been brought up to me, but they make sense. He got LASIK. And vision as a quarterback is incredibly important. However, you would think, hey, was it his vision that got him to throw 30 touchdowns 30 interceptions to the other team. I don't think so. Honestly, if Jameis Winston is an average quarterback, I think the Saints are better than we think. I don't know that they can be. The upside, up as well as Sean Payton's offense. Sean Payton's offense is a little less risky. Now, again, they want to push it down the field. That's why they chose him over Taysom Hill. But you also have to look at the fact that it's Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, if anybody's going to throw the ball to the other team, if he's going to fumble it to the other team, it's Jameis Winston. The other thing that's working against him right now is they're lacking weapons. Michael Thomas on the physically unable to perform list, and then you've got a guy like Traquan Smith is their leading receiver. Alvin Kamara is great, but you're not going to get away with a one-man offense. And again, is Jameis just bad? That's the real thing that's working against him. It's what I believe. I think he was a really great college quarterback. He won a national championship. He led his team from behind, which I don't know that he can do in the NFL on a consistent basis where you're like, hey, he's Tom Brady scary. And I don't even think Tom Brady's the bar we should set. Ben Roethlisberger scary. I don't know. But again, it could just be that Jameis is bad. It could just be that he's bad. My next one, it's got nothing to do with stats at all. It's got nothing to do with stats at all except for win-loss stats, and that's Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has been in the league. He started 165 games, but he's got a sub-500 record. He's 74-90-1, which is surprisingly less bad than what I thought it would be. Passes 62%. Again, he's not a bad quarterback. He is a guy that goes for a lot of yards. But again, he's never consistently won. And sometimes you're wondering, hey, is it just that he's a good stats bad team guy? It's real possible. I mean, Calvin Johnson quit with Matt Stafford throwing him the ball. But I don't think it was Matt Stafford was the reason that Calvin Johnson quit. The thing's working for him. It's Sean McVay. Sean McVay is going to get the most out of any offensive player. I do believe he's probably the best offensive mind in the league. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't make a bet on this guy. So I could see Matt Stafford, still being able to sling it down the field. They add guys like Deshaun Jackson and Tutu Atwell, who I think is an incredibly small guy. If you play Madden, he is a guy that falls below the weight threshold for players on Madden. But again, they're setting up an offense built around, hey, we want Matt Stafford to win. On top of it, they've got an actual NFL defense, something that Detroit has lacked most of the time that he was there. So if anybody's going to play their way into it, I can see Matt Stafford doing it just because he's got the best weapons he's had since it was Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, and Reggie Bush. Again, I sincerely believe some of these things. I believe that he should be a guy that's considered for it. Sorry, guys, got to turn the page. And that's my last guy. My last guy that could play his way into it is Marshawn Lattimore. So Marshawn Lattimore, great rookie season. Numbers aside, he is your prototype corner. He's tall. He's athletic. He has typically good ball skills. The issue is he's one of those players that's extremely volatile. Less turnover production than Marcus Peters, who has the most turnovers since he came to the league. But again, Marshawn Lynch is what you would want if you were building a corner. Maybe a little bit faster, but again, Marshawn Lattimore is what you'd like in a corner. For his career, he's had double-digit passes defensed every single year. However, since his rookie year, his interceptions have kind of dipped. It's one of those worries where you're like, was that the anomaly? You have guys that have one or two good seasons of interceptions, and then they kind of their way through the rest of the time they're in the league. However, The big worry right now is he has allowed 7 touchdowns in 2020 while allowing a low rate of passes defensed against him. That was more than his last 2 years combined. And the reason that, you could say, hey, maybe he will, not have as bad a season. He's in a contract year, and I'm happily, willing to bet on any guy that's in a contract year. On top of it, New Orleans did add a lot of talent to their defense, a lot of young talent, a lot of guys that, during the NFL draft, you kind of look at and like, oh, they're trying to pair guys with the other side of what they had. They'd have Cameron Jordan. Now they added a Peyton Turner. They had Marshawn Lattimore. Now they're adding a Paulson Adebo, as well as they're adding, Bradley Roby, who is a good NFL corner. And then, they have Demario Davis. Now they have a Pete Warner. They have guys to couple with their guys that were already good. So, Marshawn Lynch should be able to benefit from that. If not, you know what? Again, he may be on the wrong side of this Ryan Tannehill rule. Again, guys, if you have anybody else that you can think of that you're like, oh, hey, maybe this guy qualifies for the Ryan Tannehill rule, let me know. Or hey, let me know what you disagree on. But this is just a little project I worked on. Again, a little bit of research, but one of those weird Kyleisms. Now, as I was talking about before, I said I wanted to talk about my nice little learned life lessons. Oh, so this one's stubbornness. So for those of you that follow my Instagram, that I'm just really poor at updating super often. But I posted what I did to my ankle recently. This past Monday, I was playing basketball, went up to defend some guy, came down on his foot, and unfortunately my ankle just kind of kept going that direction. Judging by the bruising and swelling, it went inward. So again, looks real ugly. So what had happened was we called the medical facility. Medical facility came, picked me up, dropped me off the medical facility. And this is where my stubbornness starts. So when I got there, the people that picked me up and I got to ride in the ambulance with were super polite, professional, and kind of what you'd hope for when you get hurt. For those of you that have had injuries, I don't know how you dealt with them. What I figured out is when I get hurt, I just get a little bit more irritable. It's exactly what happened. So while dealing with my pain, I was led to a bed where they said, hey, sit on that bed. I'm trying to get comfortable. So I pull my injured ankle up onto the bed and lay back. While I'm laying back, the young man that works there says, don't get too comfortable. And maybe it was just, again, part of the pain that was bothering me. Maybe it was the way he said it. But that, with the couple other interactions I had with this young man, just made it seem like I was more of an inconvenience. When I got there and they had said, hey, is this bed okay to use? He said, yes, I just changed it. So maybe he was irritated that I had laid down on a bed he had just changed. But I hate saying it, if you're in a certain career field, like you've got to learn that, sometimes you're going to do work and it's immediately going to be undone, especially if you're somebody who just got hurt. On top of it, then, the doctor comes in and he starts asking some questions. Now, I went into it with the doctor is going to poke and prod and turn my ankle in ways I don't want it to go and probably cause some pain to evaluate it. I'm okay with that. But during this course, being in the military, I do have to show a certain amount of professionalism. So what I've learned is that when somebody's turning my ankle in ways I don't want to go, I just clench my jaw. I have a mask on, so maybe he couldn't notice it. But while he's doing certain things, he's like, well, you're not making any comments or sounds. They're, I don't know if this hurts. And, eventually I just let out a, that really fucking hurts. Now, he'd asked why I didn't say anything before, and I said it's because I'm trying to maintain a certain level of professionalism. And if he keeps poking and prodding needlessly at stuff that I'm clearly uncomfortable with, that, it might be a little less professional. So, he stops poking and prodding at it for a second, and then he, goes through the process of, hey, turn your ankle this way. Well, I can't. Well, he's like, well, I need you to try. I don't know how any of you deal with pain again. But if I'm told to do something that's going to put me in more pain, at this point, I could not put weight on it. But again, if I'm going to be told to do stuff that puts it in more pain, I'm not going to do it. And I let the doctor know if I'm not moving my ankle that way because it hurts. Okay, well, I need you to do it. I'm again, the best thing you can do is at that point, tell them why you're not comfortable doing it. I don't know if it's the military doctor I dealt with, but again, it was not a fun scenario for me, to the point where, we got to a question of, well, did you try to put weight on it? I told him no, because at that point it felt like I had snapped my ankle. I don't know what a real hurt, a real broken ankle feels like. But again, I've never had any real injuries to my body other than my back and my head. That's why when, I have this blank look on my face sometimes, it's really just me trying to collect my thoughts, because you hit in the head enough, you start forgetting stuff. But again, ankle, a little busted, didn't want to put a whole lot of weight on it. But, being asked why, in the manner I was asked, I didn't really understand it. You just kind of stared at me, and, again, I replied, well, it hurt. I was injured. I was in pain. That's why I didn't put weight on it. And he just had a puzzled look on his face, like, why wouldn't you put weight on the ankle that looks, 2 times the size of your other ankle? I'm not a medical professional, so I'm not going to pretend like I know more than this guy. I just feel like asking people why they don't do certain things when it's clear that it's probably a pain thing, I don't know. So this doctor, leans in real close. He says, he lets me know, hey, we're going to get an ace bandage for you, and we're going to get you some Motrin. Now, for anybody that can't read my shirt, this is a military thing. Ibuprofen and water. That's typically the prescription for a lot of stuff. At that moment, I was very agitated by this man, kind of being a little condescending to me. But again, he leans in and says, hey, is there anything I can do for you? And at that point, I just want to leave. So I reply, I'd like to leave now. Is there anything else I can do for you? And I let out a short nope, trying to just communicate without being unprofessional, that I don't want to be there any longer, that I've been looked at as a nuisance before they knew nothing was broken, because shortly after this they take x-rays, find out nothing's broken. Okay, I'm fine with that. I'm happy to hear that it's not broken. Matter of fact, when I saw my ankle not dangling, I just assumed it wasn't broken. But again, being treated as an inconvenience, I just wanted to leave. So after he gets up, after I tell him no, there's nothing he can do for me other than let me leave, I sit there for about 10 minutes, and my stubbornness kicked in. Knowing that I'm going to get an ace bandage and some Motrin, knowing I can't put weight on this leg, I decide, F it, I'm going to leave. Now, you're going to ask how I left, being that I couldn't walk. I don't know if any of you, I can't even remember the name of the show. There was a worm called Lowly, and he hopped around. Again, if any of you can remind me of what show this was, I'd love to know. But that's basically what I did. I picked up my shoes, I put on the one shoe that was necessary, um, but hopped on one foot and hopped out of the medical facility across the base back to my room. I had to take some breaks because hopping on one leg turns out a little harder when you're 210 pounds. So what I figured out is I really need to either cut down some weight or get better at hopping on one foot. Now the issue with this is, Kyle, where'd your stubbornness come to bite you? Is I laid down, I elevated my leg. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of ice in the desert, so I didn't ice it. But again, rest, compression, and elevation. That's what I did. But woke up, attempted to put some weight on the foot. It's probably 10 feet from my bed to my door. Realized I couldn't even make it that far. Informed my leadership that I could not walk, and ended up having to go back to medical. Now, again, you guys will, I will post it to the podcast. Again, if you go look at the Instagram, you'll see how gross my ankle ended up looking, to where I started wondering, hey, is this my fault? That was very possible. I was told the bruising around my foot was normal, that the bruising and swelling is going to look bad for a while. But like I said, I had to go back. They gave me crutches, which I'm going to tell you right now, crutches in a place where there's not a lot of solid ground don't do you a whole lot of good. My crutches busted through the bottom 5 minutes after I started using them. Again, not medical's fault, but again, I got some Motrin. I got an ankle wrap, which would later be replaced by a much better ankle wrap, which has allowed me to hobble around the base and not need crutches. But again, it made me wonder, hey, did I do more damage to my ankle? After a 3-day follow-up, I realized, it may not be as bad. There's a potential bone broken off in my foot. But the swelling was so bad they don't know. But that would account for the disgusting bruising that, again, I will show you and post the podcast once I am done. But yeah, stubbornness is not a great thing. That same stubbornness has led me to a contentious relationship with my daughter's mother. Not my youngest daughter. My youngest daughter is 2. It's my child that's the most like me. She's rambunctious and overly dramatic and fantastic. I'm not saying that I'm fantastic. I'm saying she is. But she's the kid that's most likely. But my oldest daughter, she's 4. She just had her birthday. But me and her mother don't have the greatest relationship. And it's not for lack of trying. It again goes back to my stubbornness. Being stubborn, I don't love dealing with stuff that I don't feel like I need to. I don't like the overly, in a serious manner, the overly dramatic problems that come with having a child with somebody that you're not with, to the point where it's harmed my relationship with my oldest daughter. She's the child I've spent the least amount of time with in her life, and it upsets me every day because I love my kids. Most people know I'm not the best with adults. When it comes to kids, especially my own kids, I love them. I do anything for them. It pains me to see anything bad happen to them. But again, my stubbornness has been a detriment to my oldest daughter, because I have not, in the 4 years that she's been alive, I've just never been able to get on the same page with her mother. And again, part of that's stubbornness. I will say at one point that I had said I would withhold child support if she wouldn't regularly update me about her. And that's not the way to have a relationship with your kid's mother. But at the time I wasn't getting regular updates. I was deployed as I am now, and wasn't getting the updates. I'm going to tell you now, the easiest thing I could have done was just keep pestering. At the time we were both deployed. Again, my stubbornness just kind of got in the way. Now, I've never missed a child support payment since my daughter's been born. But again, there are some things in my life and my daughter's life that could have been avoided if I wasn't so stubborn. And that leads me to what I want to share with you guys is being stubborn is only going to harm yourself. There are typically other options that we could all take instead of being stubborn. And a lot of times we pick being stubborn, whether it's this COVID shit. Again, people get real stubborn about it, and I understand it's a touchy subject, but people just get really stubborn about it. If you don't believe how that person believes, then you're stupid, you're a sheep, you're uneducated, you're whatever. There's other, I mean, I'm not saying ignore it, but I mean, again, is it worth being stubborn? Is it worth losing friendships over? Not really. What's going on in our, in our own country, what's going on around the world? Is it worth losing friends and family over? I don't think so. They're small problems. They're drops in the bucket. And at the end of the day, you need as many people on your team as you can get. And yeah, you don't want those super negative, influences in your life, but come on. I feel like people are willing to lose people over the smallest things now. And I don't think some of the things we're doing it over are worth it. Abusive relationships, yeah, cut those people out. But when we're cutting people out of our lives just because we don't agree with each other, it's stubbornness. And again, I will post the photos of what stubbornness gets you. I can tell you right now that my life would be a lot easier if I had chosen not to be stubborn in certain situations. And I think we can all benefit from that. Again, I hope that you guys take some of my own mistakes and say, hey, you know what? It's not that I don't want to be like Kyle, but hey, maybe Kyle's right. Maybe I do need to be a little less stubborn on some of this stuff. And again, it's not just COVID. It's not just what's going on in the country. It's all these little things in general we all disagree about. Sometimes as simple as letting it go. I know we all have feelings. We have causes we believe in that we think are more important than friendships. I mean, I can't tell you that they're not, but I can tell you, again, you want as many people on your team as you can get, as long as they're on your team. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to get to a point where we want more people to reach out to, not less. I like having this medium to reach out to people to say, hey, this is where I messed up in life, and this is hopefully you guys can learn from it. Like I said, but again, it's just one of my current life lessons I'm learning while I'm deployed. Which brings me to what tomorrow is. Tomorrow, September 11th. It's the 20th anniversary of September 11th. And while we are no longer fighting that war, I believe it's important that we don't forget what it's cost, the meaning behind it. I don't think we should minimize the day just because that war has, in a way, reached a conclusion. We've all lost people, directly and indirectly. I always tell you guys, and I'll tell you guys again at the end of this podcast, that being kind to each other is important, but taking these days and remembering them for what they are, remembering that, hey, something important happened on this day. That was the first time in history that America realized that they could be touched on their home soil, to the point where a lot of people laid down their lives to make sure that doesn't happen again. And I'm not saying it won't ever happen again. But you have a lot of people that believe, in fighting back that storm. And that's what I really hope for at the end of the day. I really hope that we can keep beating back that storm, and we can remember the people that laid down their lives for it. I'm not saying you need to take the whole day, but take a minute tomorrow and just remember what it means. Should be a good day for everybody, realistically. We want to memorialize those people. We want to pay homage to those people. But again, at the end of the day, it's one of those things we shouldn't ever forget. And that's just how I feel about it. So that's my short little spiel on it. We are at the end of the podcast, guys. We're at the point where I start promoting my friends. Again, I promote these guys not because, just because they're my friends, but because they do quality work. My first one is always Taj TV, Taijh TV. He is on all the social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, probably. I don't get on Twitter a whole lot, so. But Taj does good work. Real funny guy. He'll tell you how he feels. He's not going to sugarcoat stuff. He's not restricted by a whole lot. Just same way I'm not restricted by a whole lot. He runs the show the way he wants to, and that's what I love about him, is that he's always willing to be the 100% honest version of himself. So again, Taj TV, check him out. Like, subscribe his page, YouTube and Facebook. My next guy's Marcus over at the Truth Valley Church. He does great things through God. He preaches what he believes, and I think there's something commendable about that. Again, if you're not a Christian, it's not for you, or if you're just curious about it. Again, it's an online medium. Unless you're in Arizona, then maybe go check him out in person. But Marcus is a great dude. I believe in what he's doing. I believe that he believes in what he's doing. So again, go check him out. YouTube, Facebook. I don't know what other mediums he's on, but go check him out. Jason over the Arizona Flag Company. I don't know how he keeps getting better at his job, but he does. I know technology's probably a factor in it, but Jason's a great dude. Above anything, without prompting, he said, "Hey, I wanted to offer 10% off to anybody that watches the podcast, mentions it, when they put in an order." It's just the kind of guy he is. He's a great guy. He's a goofy guy, but he does quality work, like really good quality. So if you're looking for a gift for somebody in the woodworking place, he's willing to work with you. He's willing to put what you want. There's probably some restrictions, but again, he does good work and he keeps getting better. So Jason over at the Arizona Flag Company, he's on Facebook. My last one is a guy that I'm amateur hour compared to him. I love listening. Sorry, he's not a it's not a visual medium. They're a podcast. It's Sean and Joe over at Out of Bounds with a Z, because that's how all the cool kids did it. When we were growing up. They're a football podcast. Again, Joe and Sean they do good work. Recently, they're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but they put out good quality. They put out a message that it's just, you'd wonder how these guys are not, somebody you regularly listen to. So Out of Bounds, you can find them on Spotify. You can find them on Apple Podcasts. You find them pretty much anywhere that you're trying to listen to them. Again, I hope you listen to them. I love listening to them every week. It's one of those things that I look forward to. And again, if you have friends that are looking for a podcast about just a guy talking about whatever he feels like talking about, and you actually enjoy this podcast, throw my name out there, Waiting Room Podcast. I love doing this. I wish it was a little bit more consistent with it. Hopefully with football season around, I am. Again, this is a schedule permitting type deal for me right now. If you're interested in getting on the show, you can reach out to me on the Facebook. You can reach out to me at KyleTheWait@gmail. It's going across the little bottom of the screen, but KyleTheWait@gmail. If you've got questions about the show, if you want to be on the show, if you just want to tell me that you appreciate what I'm doing, or if you want to say hi, anything. That's how to reach me. Instagram. Again, I'll start, posting pictures of not my gross ankle. And then finally on YouTube at Waiting Room Podcast. Guys, I appreciate everybody that supports, listens, interacts with the show. What I will say is, if you read the little StreamYard prompt, I do need you guys to verify through StreamYard. Otherwise, you all just pop up as Facebook users. But again, I appreciate everybody that ever, clicks on the show, watches it for a few minutes, interacts with the show. I appreciate all of you. And as I tell you every day, keep being kind. Until next time we can put out a show, guys. Thanks.